Trumptopia. I am your intrepid, incorrigible, humble, and mildly eccentric host, Mr. Zeppo. Today is the 522nd day of Trump's reign over this beautiful land of freedom and bravery and family values. Behind the orange curtain. In the great golden orange era of Trump. I have been on hiatus for a little bit, and while I may have been on hiatus from creating the show, my little podcast, I haven't been recording it, but I certainly haven't taken a break from paying attention to what's going on. And quite frankly, I let the hiatus drag on because things were getting so amazingly wacky that I started to feel a little overwhelmed about how to dive back in. In trying to get myself back into the creative flow, I've tried to start this particular episode 3 or 4 or 5 times now and deleted it because I am just at my wit's end. I don't want to say it's overwhelming, but it is. It's a bit intense. This is not a moment in American history to be proud of. And it's quite fascinating how it's being covered in the media. All I mean to say is that for the last couple of days, I've sat in deep contemplation of how to approach this, how to comment on the dark and traumatic and painful new level of insanity that we've reached. And I was daunted. I felt overwhelmed. I felt ill-prepared, not because I hadn't been taking enough notes or paying enough attention to world events, but because it was just 3 things too many. Good Morning Trumptopia has always been intended to be, a platform for tongue-in-cheek political satire and honest discussion about what's going on in Trumptopia. And what has been going on in Trumptopia has been so dark, so beyond the pale, so much more than I anticipated, then that I have been flummoxed. I have been at a loss for words. I have been unsure how to tackle coming back to this show and talking about what's going on in our society. We are definitely living through some dark days. Before we dive in to the dark and morbid events of recent weeks, I want to take a moment to express some gratitude and send some shout-outs to my ever-growing audience. The platform that I use to host and distribute the podcast has some analytics, and it's always a pleasure to peek at the page in the analytics system entitled, hold on, let me pull it back up again. This is geolocation, and it shows me a breakdown of the general global geolocation places of where people are listening or downloading the podcast. So, obviously, the United States ranks number 1 in terms of the vast majority of listeners are listening here in good old Trumptopia. But I've also got listeners that I want to recognize and thank and send a shout out to who are listening from the UK, from Mexico, from Canada, from Nepal, from Netherlands, from Serbia, from Spain, Cambodia, and Australia. Yeah, it's a trip, man. It says right there that some people are listening in Kathmandu, Nepal. How cool is that? Much love, much gratitude, much thanks to those of you out there listening. That just makes me feel all warm and fuzzy, and I wanted to share that. And I wanted to encourage you guys, wherever you're listening, my friends, please, please, please feel welcome to find me on social media. Just search for hashtag Mr. Zeppo or at Mr. Zeppo. You should be able to find my Twitter page, my Facebook page, my Instagram page, my YouTube pages. I have 2. I'm transitioning, so if there's confusion there, just make sure you read the About section. Find me on Sprecher, Tumblr. There's a handful of others. And as I always say, if you're on some cool, new, quickly growing social media platform that's going to be the next Facebook, let me know what it is. I will eventually get around, hopefully, to creating some representation there for myself so that the community can find me on all the platforms. So yesterday I just I appeased my need to get back on the saddle, as it were, by creating a quick little, hey, I'm back from hiatus promo episode, which had not a lot of content. And then I did a really brief breaking news episode, and I did it right at the time that I had seen what I thought was going to be the weirdest piece of news for the day. If you haven't checked it out, I won't ruin it for you. Go check out that segment. But as it turns out, there was even weirder news on TV later that day. And as far as the whole broader situation, coming back to host my podcast right now is a bit like having left a party and then come back thinking the party was still going and raging hard, but now there's some sort of domestic dispute boiling, and all the partygoers are awkwardly trying to leave the party, but you can't. And you've just walked right back in going, woo, I brought some more beer. What is going on? Trumptopia. What the fuck happened? And what did you do with the Trumptopia I knew and loved already? Because this Trumptopia is like a shade too far of, on the 50 Shades of Grey. I don't know. That's terrible. Why did I drag that book into this discussion? I don't know. I don't know. That was a pretty weak analogy. I was getting ready to do a whole North Korea summit episode because I have a personal connection with South Korea. And I was trying to work that up. For those of you who don't know, I'm a bit like Eddie Izzard. I'm not saying I'm as funny as he is at all. That man's a genius. But I can't, for this particular form of entertainment, writing it out just doesn't work because the words don't flow the same. It's a different kind of thing for me to write. If you're interested in what that may read like, head over to wattpad.com and look up Mr. Zeppo. I think if you just go Wattpad and Mr. Zeppo, or just Wattpad Mr. Zeppo on your searchy bar, you'll find it. So I write really differently, and this can't be scripted. This is a genuine op-ed talk show. This is my opinion editorial. And while I think if I were to be a columnist at the New York Times or something, I pick them randomly. I have no preference or affiliation to any particular media outlet. But, if I were to be working that kind of job, I'd approach it completely differently. But I digress. I'm sure you've heard all the headlines. I think it is not too extreme to say that what we've been basically living through the last weeks and months as this thing unfolded was the realization that the United States government is currently kidnapping children. It is opening up a business of kidnapping children from people that they can get away with kidnapping children from because of rhetoric and xenophobic hate and brainwashing. Is that too harsh of a word? I can imagine people saying, whoa, that's taking it a bit far. Let me step back and say something. This country is deeply traumatized. We, as citizens of it, as residents of it, as illegal aliens of it, we are all deeply traumatized by its deeply traumatic history. And this current episode of xenophobic, protectionist, border security, there's a word there. I guess sort of chauvinism. If border security chauvinism can be a term. This episode right now that we're living through is a symptom. It is an outrageously wild and epically new level of depravity, for sure. And I'm not trying to deny that or to minimize that. I'm deeply offended and categorically reject everything about it. Every statement made about it by officials in all positions of government. This is madness. Okay, and I reject and demand as an individual, as a member of this community, that our government do better. Or suffer the consequences of being, repurposed and restaffed. And not the way that they're doing it. But that's a whole nother episode. And every day I've gotten up and tried to start this segment of Good Morning Trumptopia and tried to find the words to even begin to talk about the dark, crazy fucking shit we're going through right now. And it's been hard. And I've stopped and hit delete to just about everything I've tried to record these past 3 or 4 days until now. So I think I just said that twice. Sorry, I'm a bit redundant sometimes. Because I am still struggling with a little bit of where to start. Let's start here. Let's start with this. Let's start with a statement of clarity. In my humble opinion, this nonsense at the border is illegal. The legality of how they were handling unaccompanied minors before now is questionable. And that whole issue with that court case, whose name I've not jotted down and whose name keeps slipping my mind, but that very influential court case that altered the rules about children and how they can be detained and whether or not they should be with their kids, and that the GOP is trying to change and or strike down right now. This administration has illegally separated and incarcerated children. That's kidnapping, folks. Now, I could be wrong, but I'm kind of amazed and shocked that we haven't rallied around this particular brand new, unexpected series of events and go, okay, forget the Russia investigation. This is horrible enough. Arrest them. Arrest every single last one of them. Because that was kidnapping, which is illegal under national, federal law, and international law, right? Isn't it? The simple fact that this administration created secret black site baby jails, secret detention facilities for minors, for children. I mean, that should be enough to say, like, well, who cares about Russia? Let's just stop right here and be like, whether or not Russia has anything to do with it, this is unacceptable. No matter how you slice it, what the Trump administration did just now, with our tax dollars, in the name of us, the American people, the Trumptopian people, in the name of national security, in the name of your safety, he's kidnapped children, thousands of them, thousands of children. And what it seems like they want, it seems like the administration wants the pendulum swing of the media outrage to swing away from this whole thing so they can quietly just keep doing it. I'll leave you with that thought. And as always, my friends, as always, I pray that peace, love, and grooviness blossoms in your heart, that you may not be so outraged by what's going on that you cannot find your way back to that peace, love, and grooviness in your heart, because those are the tools we're going to need as the fight gets worse, as the days get darker, as the oppression gets more tyrannical, and as our resistance becomes more important. We must be anchored, not in hate, but in love. We must be rooted, not in destruction, but in compassion. We must be motivated not by retribution or revenge, but by healing and transcending these problems that we created for ourselves. Thank you for listening. I am your ever humble, if only slightly wacky host, the incorrigible Mr. Seppo.